That's exciting. Welcome to Sky, and also a member of Men for Inclusion, and having spoken to many people across industries through this group, I'm struck by the many similarities between them and sports broadcasting. We're all facing the same challenges when it comes to elevating the voices of women and making sure the culture is not just inclusive of all genders, but built by and for all genders. So the theme of tonight is they think it's all over as it relates to gender equality. Spoiler alert here, it's definitely not. In 1966, when that phrase was famously uttered, women were banned from playing in English league grounds. This persisted until 1972, when the national team played their first game, almost exactly 100 years after the men's team started.
The Accidental Sexist first 11. So in goal, we've got high profile opportunity. This is a man. It's a mixed gender team, by the way. And the way this plays out in terms of accidental sexism is because we think in very gendered ways around the roles and the things that people do, we are more likely to associate leadership, career ambition, career need with men more than women. And we end up therefore giving, or we're more likely to give men the really high profile opportunities that really turbocharge their careers. We are more likely to do that than we are for the women in our organisations. So anyway, let me introduce the rest of the team. We're going to move on to the back four now. At right back, we've got non-core admin. This is a woman. And again, goes back to these gendered views about roles we think women are suitable for. So we think of women as being very conscientious, good at attention for detail, people, they're good at collaboration. And therefore, one of the things that ends up happening is we tend to give women more of the non-core job admin. This is not people that are doing an admin role. Often it's people in quite senior roles, but the women still end up being asked to take the minutes, organise the leave and do. So you can see that promoted on potential. Again, it's a man. It's far more likely that we promote men based on some view that they've got potential leadership ability, whereas women, we have to work far harder, and we might look to promote them if they've demonstrated competence as opposed to future potential. We've got assumptions due to family, and this is the very simple thing that we make assumptions that women have. When women have young children, they don't want to do those challenging stretch projects. They don't want to travel. They don't want to work extra hours. Now, that may be true, they don't, but we don't even have the conversation. In our research, that women tend to get a lot less direct feedback from managers. Perhaps it's because their male managers are a little bit scared of how the women might react if they were very direct with that feedback. But it ends up they get things like, oh, you need to show more gravitas. And it's very difficult to do something with feedback. Let's move on to the midfield now. So the next part of our research shows that women tend to get less airtime in meetings. They tend to have their voices overridden. It's kind of hard to get their voices into the conversation in the first place. In the centre of midfield, we've got the he-Peter. You can picture this guy already, can't you? Sort of like curly hair, moustache, tight, shorts too tight, the sort of guy, right? And the he-Peter is a well-known phenomenon where you're in a group situation, a woman suggests an idea, everybody ignores her. 10 minutes later, the man says exactly the same idea. Everyone goes, that's brilliant, John, we'll do that. You also got on the left-hand side of midfield, no senior sponsors. Now, the way this tends to play out, and it's connected with the left winger, which I'll show you in a minute, but this idea that because we are more likely to make social bonds with the people like us, many organisations end up with social groups based around gender lines. And therefore, those social groups end up creating some of those opportunities that don't go through the normal promotion or hiring channels. We end up giving people opportunities simply because we have a social relationship with them, like that. In the attack, a left-wing partnership there, the old boys network. Clearly, that doesn't happen in any of the companies that are based here, I'm sure. But often, quite frequently in the companies we work with, we find women often talk about the fact there's a bit of an old boys network happening. In the centre of the attack, we've got punish more harshly. This is research shows that women often, particularly when they get into senior leadership positions, are judged on their gender, not on their ability as an individual. And therefore, their mistakes are jumped upon far more than perhaps their male colleagues might have the same mistakes highlighted. And then finally, there's this issue where women are often thought to owe their position to some sort of quota. We have to promote more women, we have to hire more women. So therefore, people think that they've only got the job because they're a woman.
Yeah. 2 points. that pop into my head when you say they think it's all over. And by the way, I was there in 1966, a young boy. But we mustn't forget, as you said in your introduction, Ben, women were excluded from football and playing football at that time. In fact, they were probably excluded from playing all of our major sports. How much did that cost our society? No female role models, no aspirations, none of the benefits of playing team sports. People of my generation were brought up thinking that girls can't kick footballs and can't throw balls. How much did that cost? But conversely, the other side of that coin is men have, in many ways, been excluded from gender diversity initiatives as well. It was not about them when we were talking about diversity. Men are not interested in it. Men are biased. Men are aggressive. Biased, unconsciously, aggressive in a micro way. And then they're just given diversity targets. It's not surprising, perhaps, with that background, that for men, D&I isn't all over. And as you said, for many, it's just starting their lives and think they would have liked to have spent more time with their children. They would have liked that opportunity and regret not taking it or not being able to take it. I think one of the benefits of inclusionism is that we can throw off those male stereotypes. We can share parental. Let's talk about parental leave, not maternity leave, because a lot of men would like the opportunity to spend more time with their children as well and take on some of those roles. And the business case for this is well proven. It's more innovative, more profitable, more successful businesses that are sustainable, growing, that can attract the best staff, that are just great places to work. They're happier, more successful. There's too little effort being put into driving change, and quite often that effort is in the hands of a small number of people within the firm, and typically women or other people from underrepresented men. Inclusive men, research shows, have happier relationships, both at work and at home. But also there's the old opportunity in choice. Do we want to wind the clock back to the days where we followed in our father's footsteps, where society said you were born here, you were educated there, therefore you do this wrong? We've got so much more opportunity and choice now to be ourselves, to be our authentic selves through inclusivity. And if the flip side of that is that we have to think and consider other people who maybe don't look like us and don't think like us, in the big scheme of things, that's a very small payoff. We work in environments where the cultures, the behaviours, the values have been created by white men historically, straight white men. We need to change those. We've got the opportunity now to get hold of those cultures, question our behaviours, question our values, to create an inclusive environment that's much better for everybody. Turn the mirror on yourself. Think about how your behaviours, how your values, the assumptions that you might make really affect those women around you. Understand their lived experience, and then think about what changes you need to make to move to the world that we all want. But also look around and call out people who aren't living up to those behaviours and values that we want, and call them out or call them in. We can't do this. We can't just leave this to other people. We need to do it ourselves.